In this video, me and my group decided to interview Mr. Escalona, the school's photography teacher. In the video, we decided to ask him what he hopes to get out of teaching students photo art and what his motivations were for making photo art. Let's go. Well, Mr. Escalona, now that you are a teacher, what would you say that you hope to get out of teaching students art, and what would you want to get out of your own art today?
For my own art, so as artists, we're always trying to, take away from others. We're always learning from others. We're always reading. We're always looking at art. And, I'm lucky that I'm in a position that I get to see hundreds of students' art every single day. So even if I, can get something out of, one student and maybe that'll influence my work, I think that would be pretty successful for me. What I hope students get out of me and my class, though, is that they're willing to step outside of their comfort zone, because art is all about, stepping out of your comfort zone, pushing the boundaries, kind of like finding that line in the sand that you're willing to make and cross it, right? So a big part of art is, kind of expressing what's within. And I think that if a student's willing to tap into that and kind of find some kind of outlet to show that, and they're able to show that, I would consider that a win for me. Even just if I'm able to get one student to just kind of, show their emotions, then I would consider that successful.
Well, Mr. Escalona, now that you are a new father, and I assume that having a daughter would give you some new emotional perspective on your life, how would you say that has impacted your inspirations in art? Or would you say that that's a person that you're doing your art for?
So I would say that creatively, one of my biggest inspirations is a famous photographer. His name is Alex Soth. Alex Soth, he's a famous photographer from Minnesota. He became really popular in the early 2000s. He did a really famous photo series. It was called Sleeping by the Mississippi River. And basically what he did was he followed the Mississippi River all the way down from the northern part of the United States, all the way down to the southern part of the United States. And then he took pictures of the people that he met. He took pictures of the places that he stayed at. He took pictures of the things that he ate. And he took all those pictures and he made them into a book called Sleeping by the Mississippi River. And not only is that like one of my favorite, photo series of all time, one of my favorite books of all time, his approach to photography is something that I have kind of modeled my own practice after. His whole approach is that he doesn't want to take the picture unless he feels like he knows it, right? So his whole thing is that you don't take the photograph unless you care, unless you built some kind of relationship, because he says when you care, it shows. When you care about the subject, when you care about the place, you frame the photo a little bit slower, you frame it with a little bit more care. And that caring is something that I always try to add to my own work. And it's something that I stress really hard on my students, is that I want them to care, because when you care, it shows. And I always joke around with, I tell them that caring is the difference between a slice of 7-Eleven pizza and a home-cooked meal from your abuela, from like your grandmother, right? When you care, it shows, and it's just only going to elevate your work.
Mr. Escalona, cycling back to the fact that you are a new father, would you say that having a daughter and your maid family has impacted your art-making process in any way?
Yeah, I would say so, because, art is a very personal thing. It's a very personal process, because, if art is successful, it makes somebody feel, but it also is coming kind of from within. So the process of making art is a very personal and vulnerable, process. So, it's kind of hard for art to not kind of draw from just yourself. But I'll say that since having, a daughter, that, I definitely see things a lot differently now. Things that maybe I would be, kind of quick to judge, or, things that I would kind of be maybe quicker to anger, I've kind of noticed that, my patience is growing more. And, as artists, we're always our own biggest critic. And, we're always hardest on our own work and, hardest on ourselves. And I've kind of noticed that, the last, 2 years, that I am more kind of like forgiving of like my own work and like my own art. So I would definitely say that I've seen that kind of like impact the process and what I'm making for sure.
So, Mr. Escalona, you are a photography teacher at North Brunswick Township, but most importantly, you're a photographer and an artist in your own right. So, what would you say is the highest quality work that you have made?
Highest quality work that I've made? That is a really, really good question. I would say that probably the pictures that I took in Iceland. So as a photographer and just a fellow traveler, I just like traveling around. I've been to a lot of really cool places. I've been to Iceland, I've been to Japan, I've been to Spain. But when I was in Iceland, there was this one place in the southern part of Iceland, probably about 20 or 40 miles outside of Reykjavik, which is like the capital of Iceland. It was called the Black Diamond Beach. And it's really cool because they have all these icebergs that are floating around out in the distance. And they have like these broken pieces of iceberg that are slowly come up to the shore, and they just kind of lay all around like the shore and like the coastline, and they look like little pieces of diamond. But what's really cool is it's on a black sand beach. So instead of like a normal sand beach like you would see at like LBI or like Belmar, the sand is completely black and really, really smooth.